Here's a tongue teaser for you. The Hackle Stacker Adams is a fish catching machine with premium floatability and awesome visibility. Here's how you tie it. Start off with a Daiichi 1190 dry fly hook. This is a barbless hook, so you don't have to worry about pinching the barb on this one. This is a size 14. Get a base of thread started on your hook shank. This is dun colored thread. Bring it back just above where the barb might be. We're going to tie in our shuck. For the shuck, we're using rusty brown poly bear. Trim about a 5 or 6 inch section of poly bear from the hank and pull out any loose or short fibers. No need to worry if your tips are aligned or anything like that. You can just take it to your hook shank, give your bobbin a counterclockwise spin if you need to, and capture that material with a few wraps. Tie that poly bear down on top of the hook shank all the way up to about the 3/4 point on your dry fly hook. Leave about a 1/4 inch behind the hook eye for the wing material to be put in. You can leave your poly bear hanging forward for the next step. Next, grab a very sparse amount of Larva lace silk dubbing for the body. This is dark dun. Now when I say sparse, I mean really sparse. This is going to fill up the body a lot more than you need to. You might even need to pick some off at the end, which is okay. But dub a really light, wispy noodle onto your thread and begin making thread wraps rearward again until you get to the back where you tied in your poly bear. And then you can begin wrapping forward once your silk dubbing starts going onto the hook shank. Make a nice tapered body forward with touching wraps until you get to the point where you stopped with your poly bear material. If you need to remove a little bit of silk dubbing, that's okay. Go ahead and pull it off and clean up that area before you reach for a premium dry fly hackle. Pluck a feather from the cape and strip off the butt fibers and trim the stem to give you about an 1/8 of an inch or more to tie on to the hook shank. The shiny side facing you, go ahead and capture that stem with a few wraps and then move in front of the poly bear and tie down the rest of the stem on the front of the hook shank before going back and bending that hackle up and adding a wrap underneath it to stand it up in its place. Grab a little bit more silk dubbing now and cover that tie-in point for your hackle, and then bring your dubbing forward on the hook shank all the way up to behind the hook eye. For creating our hackle stacker wing, we're going to grab a set of plunger style hackle pliers and pull your poly bear material straight up. Grab it with your hackle pliers, and what I like to do is just wrap that tag end of poly bear around the hackle pliers to make sure it's super secure, and then close it shut. We're going to hold these hackle pliers in between our fingers as we lift the material straight up and keep it nice and tight. But you just need to manipulate that hackle feather up the poly bear material just like you would if you were tying a parachute post. Typically, I'm going to make 4 or 5 wraps up with that hackle feather. Just make sure you're keeping that tension all the time as you wrap it up, and then you can begin wrapping down over itself again. Both materials, the hackle and the poly bear, are going to come forward together towards the hook eye. And we're just going to fold that over almost like a wing case and capture both materials with our thread that was sitting up behind the hook eye. Make 2 or 3 good wraps to secure those materials in place, and then pull everything up and back the best you can, and make a few wraps in front of those materials before you trim off your poly bear and your hackle stem. Once that's complete, make a nice neat head on your fly, and you can use your scissors to trim off any wild hairs that have branched out from your hackle stacker wing material. But for the most part, what I love about these hackle stacker patterns is that the wing material will splay out about 180 degrees, but it stays on top of the hook. allowing for your fly and the body of the fly to sit in the film of the water. This is a fantastic pattern. Mix up the coloration, mix up the size, tie up some Hackle Stacker Adams patterns today, and give them a try on your home waters. These are all the materials you'll need to tie the Hackle Stacker Adams. Head down to your favorite fly shop and ask for Larva Lace by name. If you are in need of a big order and you need to make it happen yourself, go ahead and reach out to Lorie at the shop in Mitchell, South Dakota, and she will get you set up with everything you need. HagensFish.com is home to the best quality synthetic fly tying materials on the market. Their materials just make flies that catch fish. Thanks for tying with Larva Lace. Hope this pattern helps you out. Here's to tight lines and well-tied flies.